right, just give me a second. We're just launching, and then I will start the recording and we'll go. Okay, it's just done. Fantastic. We are live on YouTube as well. Absolutely fantastic. So now we shall record at this end. Okay, fantastic. And 258 people in the room right now. Dear Africa Business Jumpstarters, a very, very warm welcome to our live session today titled African Business, Your Risk and Opportunity During COVID-19. I look very much forward to having this session with you. I truly believe it is one of the most important sessions that I'm holding and that you will be taking notes about if you're serious about starting a business or you're running a business already and you're thinking about restructuring. So I want to dive straight in, and as I said, I'm touching about the risk and the opportunities. I'm someone, I take risk reduction as a strategy in my business very, very seriously. It is something that I'm teaching consistently because I'm of the opinion that not enough people are actually putting a risk reduction strategy in place. And we are running very quickly towards the opportunity. And that is great because there's loads of opportunity in the context of Africa. But it's equally important that we are looking at the risks and that we actually reduce risks before they hit us, all right, as much as possible. Now, as you all know, dear Africa Business Jumpstarters, we are in a very, very special time or era. No one has been able to really predict, that a pandemic would hit us. And this is the year 2020. I'm sure a lot of you have made grand goals for this year, things you wanted to achieve, things you wanted to change, business success that you wanted to put on your record for 2020. And suddenly, disaster struck and everything looks different. Now, with this pandemic come a lot of risks, of course. And we know already that a lot of businesses will unfortunately not survive. We also know that unfortunately, a lot of jobs will not survive. And I think you in the United States, it has hit you the hardest. I mean, I don't know what the latest update was, but I heard about 30 million jobs being lost already. And it's kind of just the start. Here in Germany, where I'm currently based, even the state minister, he talks about we may be losing the wealth state of Germany as we know it. And, so we are at a time where entire economies are stagnating, scrambling, or shifting. And this bears risk, but it also bears opportunity. Now, I want us as African business jumpstarters to be very, very aware of both. And it is so important that we take into consideration the aspect of time, because risk has already hit, but it can hit further down the line, and opportunity is there in new proportions, but it will not always be there to stay. So that sense of urgency is important, and I will stress on that again towards the end of the session. Now, no matter what we believe, so some people believe, oh, this coronavirus, give it a few months and it will all be over. And others are saying, and I've done a lot of research because I need to teach and also restructure my own business. A lot of analysts and experts are saying, we have no idea. It may actually stay for 3 years at a minimum, and it may stay with us for decades. We do not really know. What we do, however, know, dear Africa Business Jumpstarters, I think you would agree, is that the world will change. The way people will conduct their lives will change as a result. The way we're doing business will change as a result. And the way how countries and economies relate to each other will change as a result. And therefore, no matter if Corona is here to stay or not, or if it will come back during the winters, things will change. And in business, it is so important that you, first of all, find the right timing for an opportunity, but that you're also aware of the aspect of time. So as I said, risk doesn't hit you, and opportunity does not run away. And so what I have done, and I really want to give you that kind of context, because before I actually preach, I have walked the talk myself. So over the last few weeks, I have, first of all, researched, analyzed as much as possible, listened to a lot of analysts, listened to a lot of experts in economy and health, just to get a better understanding of what we can expect. And of course, no one really knows what we can expect, but everyone knows that things will be changing. So what I have done is I have done a risk reduction analysis in my own business, and I have taken measures. It is very, very important as an entrepreneur or a business owner. It doesn't matter if you're a startup or already have a business, or you're an aspiring entrepreneur. It is very important that we are flexible. The ability to be flexible will be one of your biggest friends. And so what I have decided in my own business is, as many of you know, I've been running business missions on the ground to Africa for many years. I've done a total of 11 business missions on the ground. And this year we had 3 business missions planned to Kenya, Ghana, and Rwanda. And what I have decided is that I will take out these programs out of my business altogether. It meant that I had to cancel. It meant that I had to issue refunds. They're still being paid out because it was a lot of money. It was a big part of my business. However, I decided to make a swift decision and take swift action, because the biggest risk, again, is for me to keep that aspect that is full of uncertainty and drag it along. Maybe I'm dragging it along because I'm saying, okay, let's see what happens. Or I'm dragging it along because I don't want to pay out the refunds. Or I'm dragging it along because I'm kind of sitting idle and I'm just doing things as I've always done them. But now I have decided to take quick action and to take that program out altogether. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is because I want you to do the same. Whatever business idea you had in mind, whatever business concept you're working on, whatever startup you have started, whatever investment or business you're growing, it is so important that you take the time to reflect, analyze, assess your risk, and then quickly take action to restructure. Okay, so that is the kind of context I want to give you. It also meant that I had to restructure my team. I had to, decide which team members are more important, which, for example, was the marketing team, because I decided to do more online teaching now, and I had to get rid of, or not rid of, but decrease the hours of other team members where I felt I can't give priority to them right now. So I want you, after this live session, I'm going to share so many more details, but after this live session, I want you to really take the time out in your own business and see where you need to restructure an idea, a concept, or an already growing business. I also want to quickly share an example. And those of you who are, a little bit more mature, those of us maybe, 40 and above, we will remember very well the times of blockbusters, especially those of you in the US and in Europe. And blockbusters, as you all know, was, like a video on demand. It was like a renting company. And, on the weekends, we used to go to the next blockbuster shop, right? Can you remember those times? And rent a video for the weekend. And now, times, however, changed, and more of the streaming started to happen online. Now, blockbusters really grew fast in the 1990s, and actually hit its peak in 2004 with 86,000 employees. So why am I telling you this story? Because here you have a company that is global and that is hugely successful. And you have that company where, you know, a pandemic didn't even hit. What happened was there was a growing trend. Now, blockbusters did not observe that trend early enough. I mean, they did. They also offered online streaming, but they did not really observe it early enough, and they were not prepared or flexible enough to kind of change as a result of that. Whereas Netflix did manage to do that. And now Blockbusters, a worldwide, you know, company, like very successful, went out of business altogether. And Netflix, which made the most of it, is one of the most profitable companies on this globe. So again, it shows you that even you know, very, very renowned businesses, if they did not observe the trends of time, they will go down. We have similar thing with Thomas Cook, for example. Those of you who know Thomas Cook, especially in the UK, the same thing. They were depending too much on their high street shops instead of shifting everything online, and Thomas Cook went busted already. Okay, so we do not want that to happen. We want to lead a life and become financially independent in a way that serves us, that serves our dream. But above all, we also want to run a meaningful business by serving Africa. And I believe our time has come, and even more so during the pandemic or post COVID-19. So let's have a look. Now we touched on the risks. Let's have a look at the opportunities. So where are the new opportunities? Well, one of the biggest opportunities is, of course, as we all know now, the food sector. The food sector will produce, sell, trade across the world, no matter what. It will not stand still. Now, before the pandemic even hit, Strive Masiyiwa, one of the great business leaders on the continent of Africa, has said that Africa's food sector will become the next multi-billion-dollar industry on this globe. And he urges, especially the youth in Africa, to be part of that growth trajectory and to start a business in the food industry. Now, the food sector in Africa really is combined out of two different industries. One is the agricultural sector, or sectors rather. One is the agricultural sector. So that is primary production in Africa, on the ground, on African soil. That is primary production, where you produce fresh produce. The second then also is the fast-moving consumer goods sector. Now, the fast-moving consumer goods sector and the agricultural sector are the two top sectors when it comes to future growth in Africa. These are the two top sectors where we expect the biggest growth. And guess what? When you go into food manufacturing or food trade, you kind of combine those two powerful sectors, the agricultural sector at the base and the fast-moving consumer goods sector. Okay, and therefore, one opportunity, be it for you to start your business or to start your investment, will be the food industry, and it will be one, as we now know, that will be somewhat prone to COVID-19, not prone and stable, even during Corona or COVID-19. When you start in the food sector, maybe as a quick tip, it is so important when you start out the first time that you are not applying or starting along the value chain. That means from primary production up to the end to manufacturing, trading, and retail. This is very, very difficult to manage. I would suggest that you start in one aspect of the value chain in food production. So it could be you're starting at primary production, you're growing food. It could be the manufacturing, where you are adding value to the food through processing, or it could be trade and retail. All right. And I would urgently suggest that you start in one of those three if you want to harness an opportunity, or if you're seeking to invest. And of course, drinks and natural skincare products are part of that, because a lot of the drinks, of course, and natural skincare products are also derived out of agri business, agri produce in Africa. And maybe, you know, just to let you know that Africa really has so many products that are high in demand across the world. Intra-African trade is flourishing, but also, you know, the demand is there outside of Africa. So we've heard it. Number one, opportunity during COVID-19. The opportunity number one in an African context is go into the food industry, either primary production, manufacturing, or the trade and retail of existing products. Number two, the opportunity number two is e-commerce. And when I say e-commerce, I do not just mean physical products, but everything that is being sold online. Let's just, you know, summarize it under the term of e-commerce. When I started my business, which is now 6 years ago, and I did research prior to that, you know, you heard a lot of people coming online. But I have to tell you that the online market now, 6 years later, is so much more crowded than it was when I got started. But also, when you're looking at the really rich, especially the rich Americans across the globe, they all are in e-commerce or in online business. They all do e-commerce, online business, or related to that, also tech. And therefore, it gives us an opportunity to really think, okay, what can I offer online? It could be physical products with a store, and it could be digital products. It could be that you kind of, you know, organize your knowledge. And let me tell you, that is really possible with whatever skill and ability you have. I mean, I've been in the online world for you know, good time, and it is absolutely crazy what people actually offer, also in terms of online education and support in all sorts of sectors. I mean, in all sorts of niches, crazy stuff. And it really doesn't matter, you know, what kind of educational background you have. What matters is, do you have something to offer, a skill, a passion, a hobby, an experience you went through in life that you somehow managed to overcome, and then you offer that online. Now, the question, of course, is to whom do you offer that? The easiest way to offer it in an African context is always to the Western markets, and it could be the African diaspora. Doesn't have to be. You can also offer something like a African product to Americans, you know, natural skincare, for example. But so that is the biggest, really the biggest growing market when it comes to e-commerce and online. People are very used to engage online and spend money online. Now, when you want to, however, sell in Africa, it looks a little bit different. So I'm sure online education, for example, is something that will come up fast. But still the buying of online goods online, or especially education, so non-tangible products, is a little bit harder in Africa. And the reason why I mention it, I cannot go into detail now because this is like a session on its own. But the reason why I'm mentioning it is for you not to say, oh, I have this great idea, online education, let me just sell this in Africa. It doesn't work that way. You have to find in Africa, first of all, a country that has high internet speed and that is advanced in regards to online interaction. So for example, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana. And you have to have a country also where people, you have to focus on an audience that has enough spending power to actually buy stuff from you online. Okay, so if you do want to sell to Africa, it's possible, but you have to be very, very careful about the market in which you start selling and the niche, so your audience to whom you are selling. So again, e-commerce, that is the big trend, the Africa Business Jumpstarters across the world. And you can sell African products in the West or in Asia, or you can sell even Western education or software in Africa. Or you can sell African products in Africa in regards to intra-African trade. I just shot a video, a new YouTube video in this regard that I will release next week. But there I mentioned, for example, the opportunity with supplements and superfoods. As you know, that has been a multi-billion-dollar industry already. In 2018, that industry made 140 billion US dollars across the world, and it is set to be growing by twice as much, so double the number in the next 10 years. So here we have a very fast-growing industry, but guess what? Now we have COVID-19, and so many more people are even more concerned with their health. And even those who never were concerned, I mean, do you also have people jogging around your neighborhood that you've never seen jogging before? People are more concerned about their health and their well-being and their immune system. And therefore, I truly believe that this particular niche will actually grow even faster. Now, let me actually tell you a little story in the context of Africa in this regard. When I was in Kenya last year, I remember it was in the summer of last year. And while I was there, there was a funeral taking place because one of the government ministers had died of cancer. And don't quote me on this, but this is what I was told. I didn't research it, but if any Kenyans are in the room, you can correct me. But what I heard when I was in Nairobi was that in the course of 2 months, 3 government ministers or representatives died of cancer. Now, that, of course, makes it into the news. And there was a really heightened awareness among Kenyans in regards to cancer, and it's the food we eat, and it's not good quality, and it's making us sick, and a lot of deaths are coming up as a result of that. And I remember during a particular taxi ride that I took through Nairobi with an Uber driver, and we somehow, we started chatting. I always chat to people as much as I can because they also have a lot of information. But he said to me, very dramatic, in dramatic terms, and I will always remember that, he said to me, "We're dying. Kenyans are dying." And so our whole conversation then shifted towards food in Kenya and the health value and the nutritious value of food. It's coming from China, being maybe low quality, also the low quality in terms of inspections, possibly in some areas. But the reason again why I'm sharing this story is that the health awareness across Africa in regards to cancer and diabetes and so on has already been growing very fast. Now add COVID-19 to that, and it will also grow even faster on the continent. And therefore, I really believe no matter where in the world you're based, if you're selling or reselling food supplements, superfoods, Africa has plentiful of them. The likes of moringa, baobab powder, chia seeds. I mean, you know, you name them. Africa is really like a rich source in this regard. But guess how much the continent is taking up of that big 140 billion US dollar global industry? A very, very tiny percent. So that is just one niche within the e-commerce sector and the food industry. You know, where I believe you could become very successful if you do it correctly. I mean, if you are planning to sell this in the US, you have to understand how to position yourself, because there's a lot of competition, of course. But I truly believe that this is a business model also for those of you based on the continent. Why? Because no one else is really doing it. Yes, you can find these items in the supermarkets, but there's no concerted effort in really becoming like a supplier of superfoods. And maybe I'm sitting in, I don't know, in Lagos or Accra or, you know, and I'm going to make a phone call. Can you deliver these supplements to me? And then I'll have them at my doorstep the next day. Okay, so that is another opportunity. The other trend we witness, dear Africa business jumpstarters, during and post COVID-19 will be that businesses will go more local and regional and less international. That is a very important point. I'll repeat it. Businesses will go more local and regional and less international. Why? Well, we have seen it, because when the world is locked down, you know, you really focus on what you have more than trying to be dependent on other states. We've also seen the competition for certain products now. That means if there has been a dependency on a certain other country, it may be China, it may be India, it may be any other country, and suddenly, you know, we need that supply as a country. Well, guess what? That country also makes sure they're holding on to their supply. And so we will see local and regional in all industries. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are running a business in Africa's tourism industry, or you're planning to become successful in Africa's tourism industry. And again, a sector full of so much potential. Now, of course, the tourism industry has been really harshly hit by COVID-19. But I believe this is a tourism, no matter what, it's here to stay. I mean, here in Germany, you know, the lockdown has lifted. And I just read the local newspaper this morning, and it said, you know, the camping sites had people queuing for people to get in. They're already packed on the day where it opened. Why? Because now people are allowed to travel locally, and they can't wait to get out of their houses and experience things again. And because the borders have not opened yet, people are now flocking to, you know, local camping sites and local hotels and so on. Now, the next kind of layer that will be open are, of course, the regional borders, so the borders next door. And so this is very important for you also to understand if you are in tourism, because very often we are focusing on the tourists that are coming from abroad, isn't that so? And so when I was in Tanzania, for example, and I asked, oh, so where are most of your tourists coming from? Okay, oh, they are coming from Great Britain, France, Germany, America, and China. Those were like the top countries. And well, here's the problem now during COVID-19 and post COVID-19, if you're depending 100% on these foreign international tourists, that's it. Your business will just, go down slowly or not be able to recover, because even once the borders are opened again, most people will still decide to somewhat stay safe, and they will not, choose to travel far distance where maybe they have to prepare or organize their travels half a year in advance. And that is very, very important to understand. And therefore, a shift here is necessary for you. Go local and regional. I'm very happy to say that when I was in Mombasa for a holiday with my children, in one of our favorite big resorts. It's a huge resort, and I couldn't get a room. It was packed, and I didn't really expect that. I was booking online. I was in Nairobi booking online, and I wanted to go on a specific weekend, and I couldn't get a room. I called up, and then they still found me some kind of back room, and then they relocated me later to another room, me and my children. But here's the interesting thing. There weren't any foreign tourists, or hardly any. Almost everyone in this huge resort was from Africa. There were Kenyans, there were Tanzanians, a lot of Ethiopians that came to have a holiday there. And I was at this huge Mombasa resort, and the tourists enjoying their holiday with me were by and large Africans. Now, that is a good thing, but it also shows you that this trend during and after COVID-19 will increase. And if you are in African tourism, it is so important that you are not the last one to catch up, or that you never notice and you just complain that the tourists are staying away. You need to be fast. Time is of essence. Now, when the terrorist attack struck in what is called, Westgates, I think, in Nairobi, was that the name? Anyway, the shopping center. And the tourism industry in Kenya was really hit as a result. Now, guess what? The foreign tourists did not return for years. I talked to locals in Mombasa who are, offering small tours, and they're selling souvenirs to tourists. And they told me it used to be packed with foreign tourists, but since the terrorist attack, which is years ago, I don't know, 6 years or something, the foreign tourists did not return. And so I truly believe we will have a similar situation with COVID-19, and therefore go local, because no matter what strikes, if it's a terrorist attack or COVID, the locals will be the first one to buy your tours or to engage in your tourism activities, and the regional inhabitants will be the next. And it is a very, very powerful market that we have not really paid attention to. In fact, to such an extent that representatives of the government of Uganda and representatives of the government of Nigeria, those were just the ones that I kind of read about, made a call for national tourism. Guess what? It becomes ever more so relevant now. Take notes and be flexible enough to change. Now, the other opportunity, we are here with opportunity number 4 now. Opportunity number 4, dear Africa Business Jumpstarters, is we will see the new order of supply chains. Okay, we'll see a new order of supply chains. What does that mean? Well, I've touched on it. Certain businesses, retailers, manufacturers, and so on, have been depending on certain supply chains that are very, very often outside of their own country, and very often, needless to say, they're based in China. Now, we will see a complete reordering of that, I believe. Now, we have a kind of a trade war if you want to call it like that, you know, between the US and China happening already. But China also finds itself more and more isolated because it was the epicenter of the outbreak, and now a lot of companies are reconsidering and restructuring, and they're reconsidering their Chinese supply chains. So much so that now China is thinking ahead, because China fears to be isolated. It has already, a lot of challenges with its economy. And now when more business, number one, don't make it, but others are consciously changing their supply chains, then China will suffer. Guess what China did? China reached out for Africa. It sees itself isolated and then thinks, well, you know, Africa can still be our friend, because it doesn't want to be standing in the world alone without friends. Okay, so I mean, this is a whole new issue, Africa-China relations, and for the most part, Africa is not benefiting long term. This is my opinion. I believe that a lot of so-called leases of entire airports, ports, I mean, you name it, are being given into Chinese administration. This is like a new form of colonialism, a little bit hidden, maybe a little bit more independent, but at the end, it's Africa that needs to pay for decades and decades and decades. Now, China is turning again towards Africa. Now, it wants to also look for the entrepreneurs, the businesses, because it sees that consumers in the West, manufacturers in the West are turning away from China, and it now needs to fill these with African consumers and manufacturers and so on. Now, we'll see where this goes, okay? I don't have a crystal ball. What I want to make you aware of, because we can see the shifts happening already, is that supply chain dynamics will change. And that means that those that are maybe turning away from China are now looking for alternative supply chains. Did you hear that? They're looking for alternative supply chains. First, they will go again local and regional as much as they can. But guess what? The United States or Europe, they don't produce any banana or coffee or tea or diamonds or cobalt. I mean, you name it. There is a lot that the West cannot produce, but Africa does have these resources. And that means that the world, I believe, will be looking for alternative supply chains from Africa, because Africa, as we know, will be the next big giant waking up. Now, it is the right timing for you to position yourself. You could come in, by the way, as a supply chain consultant. You could be coming in as a broker where you link up buyers and sellers, or as an agent. You could come in by improving parts of the supply chain in Africa, because quite frankly, across the continent, the supply chain and the kind of quality it produces is not up to scratch. It's not very competitive. And there are so many ways you can come in. It could be in tiny ways. Let me tell you a story. And you can see, once I'm in this African business kind of area, I can't stop talking. But I hope this is of value to you. Let me actually check before I share my next story. Let me see in the chat room, dear Africa Business Jumpstarters. Is what I'm sharing of value to you? Did you get some good information, some gems, some guidance, some motivation, some head start? Okay, fantastic. All right. So excellent. It is so important that we are aware. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. Almost 400 people here live in the room. And it's so important, the Africa Business Jumpstarters, that we are aware and that we take action, because we don't want to be the last again. Okay. So I'm going to tell this story. It was in Kigali, Rwanda. Now, I'm not going to mention the name of the company or the brand. It doesn't really matter. So there is a certain brand of a food product that, and I was engaged with that company a lot in Kigali. It's also on my importing from Africa program on that platform. And they had a terrible, terrible packaging. I mean, seriously, there was some kind of strange kind of little character on it. I don't even know who came up with it. It was terrible. And so this kind of packaging and design would just not make it in the West. So I was so pleased to hear when the CEO, or now former CEO, invited me for a coffee and said, Dr. Harnet, we changed our packaging. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is great. Yes, let me show you one of our new packaging. And guess what? Yes, it was better, but in my view, it was, number one, still not competitive for Western markets. And number two, they had now packaged it into thick plastic. And I've seen a lot of that, even in Nairobi and Accra supermarkets. But here in the West, including in Eastern Africa, everyone wants to get rid of plastic. All right. So that is actually a step back. If you are then, packaging something like that was earlier packaged in paper, I have to say, that was the old packaging in paper, and that worked. And now they had this big plastic packaging. People are not or buying less of plastic. I'm one of those consumers. If I see something is packaged in a lot of plastic, I do not buy it unless I have absolutely no choice, like toilet paper. Okay. But I actually stay away from it. And that's the trend. And that means they have missed out on it. Now, this is just a story I want to tell you where you can come in. There's so many areas you can come in. Maybe you have design skills. Maybe you can work together with consultants in the West. You know what's needed in the supermarkets, what the trends are here. You could inform producers or exporters in Africa. So in other words, there's so much opportunity for you to come in the supply chain and start a business or investment in this regard. Okay. And lastly, in terms of the opportunity, well, it's not really an opportunity as such. It is more like an aspect that you can apply, or should apply rather, to any kind of product or service you offer. And that aspect I want to call purpose-driven, customer-driven in the times of COVID-19. And so that means, how do customer preferences change as a result? How do their expectations change, their buying habits, and so on? Let me give you a quick example that I actually liked, because we can now assume that issues around health and safety, for example, is at the front of the awareness of a lot of consumers. And if you have not amended your business because you're just doing things like you always do, and you have not shown the flexibility to adapt to the new changing times, then you will be losing out. Now, let me give you a quick example. I read online, it was about a restaurant in Amsterdam. And as you know, the restaurant businesses across the world have been hit very badly. And now the lockdown is slowly easing up. And this particular restaurant in Amsterdam has not only moved its customers outside, like a lot of restaurants here are doing now in Germany. Here, actually, the city council is opening up new spaces outside for free. So restaurants can offer outside seating. But this particular Amsterdam restaurant, look what they've done. They've built little glass houses. I mean, maybe it was cheap plexiglass, I don't know. But they have built little glass houses. They look like tiny greenhouses where 2 to 4 people can be seated under these little plexi houses or glass houses. And then they have another one and another one and another one. Now, everyone who dines there will feel safe, because they're sitting in a beautiful tiny glass house. Now, this business was fast to react. Now, let's think about a lot of other restaurants across the same road. And there are some restaurants that only offer inside seating because they never had outside seating and they're not flexible enough to change. Well, no one is going to go in, or they're not even allowed in by law, you know. Then there are those who say, great, let's move more chairs outside. And that's what they're doing. And then there's another business in the same road that says, great, let's move more chairs outside and also build little glass houses. And now tell me which business is going to get the most customers. Okay? That is very important for you to understand. Excuse me. So, you know, think about your product, your service, your way of delivering things, and see what is important to your ideal clients. How do you find out? By asking them. Don't assume that something is important to them. You actually have to ask them. Okay, that is very important. And thank you for all those of you who filled out my rapid survey, my questionnaire. Why am I putting out these questionnaires regularly to my clients, to my members, to my Africa Business Jumpstart communities, you guys online? Because I have to ask, you know, to understand my community. Okay. And that's something also you have to do. You always ask. All right. So these were the 5 opportunities in the context of Africa during COVID and post-COVID-19. Amazing opportunities, huge opportunity. Now, here is what will matter. Time will matter. How able are you to take quick decisions, to be flexible, make changes, and to apply. Take action. That is the decisive factor. Now, let me tell you, there are already a few people who kind of changed, and here, they're already running and making money with their amended business model, one that is now amended to the situation of COVID-19. Then there are those people who are kind of, you know, they're taking they've made the changes and they start running. Now, this is me, okay? You haven't heard from me over 8 weeks. I've analyzed, restructured, made the changes. Now I'm running. Some are already ahead of me. They're running, okay? Some are just, you know, kind of waking up to it. And yeah, maybe you lost your job. You need to rethink everything. Maybe you still have your job, but you wonder how safe it will be. And you have to rethink. Maybe this is your opportunity to get out of the status quo and, you know, start your dream life, really. But important here, dear Africa Business Jumpstarters, is that we all wake up fast. Okay? Not at the end of the year or next year, because guess what? Everyone kind of notices that the online space or e-commerce or the food industry are doing well if they're alert. And that means competition will increase. So the kind of your sense of urgency will be very decisive in how successful you will be. And so I want to urge you at the end of the session that Africa is getting more crowded anyway, more competitive anyway. It will more so be the case now during COVID-19. Dear Africa Business Jumpstarters, let's get in and let's not lose time, okay? So what I want to do now, actually I want to do a quick recap. Then I want to share a very quick opportunity with you, and then I'm going to take your questions. Over 400 people in the room now, fantastic. Please make sure you're not just taking notes, but you're applying them, okay? So quick recap. You can also watch the replay if you came late, but very quick recap. No matter what you believe about COVID-19, is it here to stay, to go 1 year, 3 years, 10 years, 30 years, it does not matter. What matters is that things will change. Consumer preferences, how we do business, how the world does business will change as a result of what we're experiencing already. Economies are changing. Your job is not secure anymore in most cases. And in fact, our wealth states, for those of us living in the rich West, may also not remain the same anymore. And by the way, as a result of that, I just want to mention it on, just touching on it because it's been playing a little bit in my mind. When we don't know how far this economic downturn is going, and the last time everyone says we had a big depression like that, especially in the US, is 100 years ago. Now, what we've also seen is a lot of racial violence as a result of that. When people lost their jobs and there was insecurity, crime also increased. I don't want to, put fear out there. I'm certainly not that kind of person, but it's something to just be aware of, I feel, and to have a plan B, and I mean, Hitler here in Germany came as a result of the Great Depression and a lot of people, millions not having jobs. I don't think that will repeat it. But what I believe is racial violence, also, I know for you in the US, absolutely anyway, but also for us here in Europe, has been stuck on the increase. And we've seen extremists coming into government in Europe that we haven't seen for decades. And that is not just one country, it's across Europe. And that is a concern. And it will be increased when you have economies going down. And I think it's so important to just say, okay, do I have alternatives? What are my alternatives? Sorry, I'm digressing a little bit, but I forgot that. So important now is that you do not sit idle, we said, but you come up with risk reduction strategies in your business and investment. Important is also that you realize that there are new opportunities on the horizon in the context of Africa, huge opportunities. And it's so important that you see the trends and that you're flexible enough to amend your business, okay? Those were the items we touched on, and some of the biggest opportunities we set were in the food industry, in e-commerce, on online, going local and regional instead of international, new supply chain orders across the world for people looking for new supply chains out of Africa, and then customer preferences that are going to change, especially in regards to safety, health and safety, and other aspects. So, yeah, dear Africa Business Jumpstarters, let me know again if this was useful to you. And let me see if this was useful to you. Just give me some kind of feedback if you're still here, still listening, not falling asleep. Okay, fantastic. All right, great. Okay, excellent. Now, always remember, and I'm going to be truthful, the majority talks, only a few walk. Okay? The majority talks, only a few walk, and even fewer are walking until they win. Okay, just remember that. Just remember that. Just have a little self-talk with you. So, do you allow me? I just want to make a very quick, I want to just share a quick opportunity. You have a very quick one. I'm not going to go into detail. You have going a little bit deeper in understanding doing business in Africa that I want to share with you quickly. One of my programs. Am I allowed to share it? We'll take 5 minutes before we move into Q&A. May I quickly share this one? Okay, thank you so much. Yes, sure. Yes, please do. Thank you. So, as you know, I've been running my boot camps in London and New York City this year. And for the first time, my plan was to actually run one of my Africa Business boot camps on the continent in Africa in Nairobi. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. But what we have luckily done, we have recorded the entire boot camp that took place in New York City. And that means, look, how we luckily I'm able now to, yes, I cannot do the Nairobi bootcamp. I even wanted to do an entire US tour, believe it or not. We now have that content available online during the times of COVID-19. Now, what does it entail? Well, very simple. The 10 modules, it includes 10 modules. These are the steps I teach during my live boot camps in regards to how to start a winning business in Africa, the do's and the don'ts. If you found what you heard useful, what you heard today useful, believe me, that online bootcamp will have even more educational material for you in really understanding what it means to do a business in Africa. And here's one thing that I want to quickly touch on. Just because someone is based in Africa doesn't mean they know how to do business in Africa. We really need more education. As I always say, you know, Nigeria, look at Nigeria, has one of the highest entrepreneurial startup rates in the world. Can you imagine? Yet 80% of businesses are failing in the first 2 years. And that is such a tragedy, and it looks the same, almost the same across the continent. It is such a tragedy because think about what these businesses could have achieved if they had actually succeeded. Not only the personal dreams of the business owners, taking care of family and community, but what it would have done for the national economy. I strongly believe in the bottom line in Africa. Africa is going to be the next big giant, not because of Chinese or American investments. Africa is going to be the best, the big next giant in the world because of the entrepreneurs and the businesses, the private sector that are going to start in their millions. Now, unfortunately, right now, we have a huge failure rate. 70 to 80%. And I truly believe it is because people think they know what they're doing and they just start a business. All right. And I love the image of when we want to get a driving license, we pay an instructor. And if we want to, get a math teacher, we pay a tutor. If we want to go into business, well, we just figure it out ourselves. Okay, and now go into business in Africa, which is an emerging market, very complex. It's so important that you understand the environment in which you operate and that you understand the do's and the don'ts of doing business in Africa. And very quickly, I have a very, very special opportunity here. Basically, it's the recording of the live event, and I have put it into an online bootcamp. Let me just see if this is the correct. I've put it into an online bootcamp. Oh, just to hold on. And here's something else I've done. I have actually come up with a COVID-19 offer. So the bootcamp, if you had traveled to London or New York City, was $297 plus hotel. So it was $297. That was the cost for my bootcamp, all right? In New York City, can you see? I'm just typing it in. And then you had to have hotel and travel and everything. Now the online bootcamp used to be $197. $197 for 10 modules on how to win business in Africa, how to do it the right way. I'm sharing in there stories of failure, including the African diaspora, where they've lost thousands and thousands and tens of thousands. Now, would $197 be worth to you to really understand what the do's and the don'ts are, where the risks are, how to do business in Africa the right way? And guess what? I've taken it down from $197 to $47. $47 is my COVID-19 offer because I want you to take action. Seriously. I've been offering this bootcamp for the last 4 years. I have never, ever offered it for $47. Here's the link. I'm just sharing it. And for those of you on YouTube, let me actually see if I can go on YouTube and share the link right there now. Oh, yeah. Let me see. No, I can't comment right now. So for those on YouTube, just come back to my YouTube channel in a little while and you find the link right there. So here it is. Seriously, this offer is not one for me to make money. This offer is one for you to invest in yourself and just get started. That's it. So this is up to you. You can try to figure it out. A lot of things that I've already put together. There are a lot of very, very important lessons that I'm learning in sharing in the African Business Bootcamp, the virtual version of it. And you can either use the time to figure it out yourself. Seriously, $47 is like an hour payment. You cannot figure it out in an hour. You will take weeks, if at all, to figure it all out. All right. So $47 is and I want you to not think about it. Oh, I've lost my job, or I'm really struggling at the moment, because I understand that. Okay, a lot of us are insecure financially. I also lost a lot of money because of all the refunds I had to make for my Africa business missions that are not taking place anymore on the ground. And you know, so the modules, yeah, just quickly, what are the modules about? Well, all sorts of, I mean, there are 10 modules, but they include, for example, you know, how to mitigate risk in Africa. What are the risks? How to mitigate them, to reduce them. Most people are not even aware of them, seriously. Which markets to invest, which not. What kind of business models work in Africa, and why do they work? What is a winning business model in Africa? What kind of aspect does a business model like that have? How do you find reliable and professional partners in Africa? We are very often, you know, choosing the wrong partners, unfortunately. So I'm sharing my strategy on how to find reliable professional partners. I'm also sharing how to position yourself as a newcomer. No one knows you. How can you position yourself as someone of value within days? All right. So this is, again, as I said, I'm not going to talk long because this is not a major sale. I want you to say, this is $47. It's worth 1 hour of work for me. You know, I'm just going to get that virtual bootcamp. All right. I shared the link. I'm sharing it one last time, and we are going to go into Q&A. So, oh, I can see you're already raising your hands. Fantastic. So let me go on. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention something. And that is, this offer seriously is just a 1 week offer. Okay. I'm going to put it back up because you've showed up. You're my Africa Business Jumpstart online community. And I wanted to make a special offer to you and those people on my YouTube channel. I'm not promoting it anywhere else. So that's it. If you are in my academy, my Africa Business Academy, or you want to join my Africa Business Academy, then just email me, because the virtual bootcamp is free. It's part of that. Okay. So, okay, fantastic. So this is just for the quick decision makers among you, go-getters. $47. You see, even if you just learn 1 gem in 10 modules, just 1 gem may actually be worth more than that. All right. So let's go and take your Q and your questions. Andre, Diomede, and William, please grab the microphones if you can. Actually, let me help you. All right. Let me see if I can unmute you, because I've muted everyone because people were jumping my, but now it's not letting me unmute you. All right, let me see. allow participants to unmute themselves. Excellent. Sounds right. So, Andre, Diomede, William, please grab your microphones and ask away. All right, then I give priority to the people. Okay, William, I think you're unmuting. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Dr. Harnet. Hi, everyone. My name is William, and I'm joining this group chat from Cyprus. Although I'm late, I didn't get everything which you said so far. But what does this package entail? This this boot camp. What does it?
Okay, the virtual boot camp. Okay, one more question in this regard. It includes 10 modules, teaching. Okay, they're like 40 minutes to an hour each. Then it includes worksheets that you can print out. And oh yeah, I forgot to say, I'm glad you asked, a free copy of my book, ebook, 101 Ways to Make Money in Africa.
Is that the one I've been trying to get through? How we made it in Africa? No, how we made it in Africa.
Could be, yeah. But William, if you go on the sales link, I'm gonna just share it again. You will see the details of what it includes. So you know, if you're not decided yet, then just have a look. It's all listed there.
Okay.
Yeah, would that be helpful?
That's fine. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so modules, worksheets, and the free ebook. Thank you, William. Who's next? All right, so whoever is on video, just wave and I'll take you, because you know, people who are visible in business always come first. Yes, African business with your hat on. Please go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
All right. I'm a student. Okay, not in business. I'm majoring on international business and based in Taiwan. So I was actually taking an innovation and entrepreneurship course. When I was researching online on kind of business ideas I could bring on board with my team, then I ran into your program, and involuntarily I became part of this whole process. It's been very exciting. I'll be following up, but I'm locked down economically because I'm on self-sponsorship as a student abroad. But I try to benefit from this virtual platform of your presentations, even if I cannot afford for now.
So I would love to hear your story, because there are not many Africans in Taiwan. However, we have almost 400 people live. Please just put your question down quickly. And I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, so I really need to get your e-copies of this boot camp. That's basically what I want. For now, I cannot afford to make any financial payments, but I hope you can extend for one more week. You said you're going to make 1 week available for those of us who attended tonight. But I needed you to have like 1 more week extension so that I can make provision for the payment.
Oh, okay. So you can email my team and then we'll see what we can do for you in Taiwan. All right?
Okay. Okay. All right.
Fantastic.
Thank
So
you.
all the best. Now, I said this was a quick sale. $47 for 10 module training.
Okay.
It's either yes or no, just to everyone. Sorry, I'm just talking to everyone again.
I know.
So it's either a yes or a no. You know, I would just say it's a yes or no. Don't even think so much and what does it entail and this. So you can check it online. What I want now from you is real Africa business questions. What are your business ideas, the concepts you're working, the challenges you're facing as a business leader, an investor, or a startup? Let me hear. Which industry are you working on? Which countries? Let's see. All right. Shaman or Timothy?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Harnet. I was just wondering, I actually came in here late, but are you talking about your boot camp or your academy? Which one is open now?
No, the 47 is just a virtual training.
Okay, virtual training.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's not my academy. My academy is something where you get like one-to-one with me. We can talk about this another time. I'm so glad there's interest. And as I said, I started running, so you'll see more of me soon.
Okay,
All
no
right.
problem.
So right now, your business questions, please.
I have one. Can you hear me?
Yes, Timothy, go ahead, please.
Wow. First of all, it's really good to see you and all these beautiful people. But I'm in Australia. I'm interested in infrastructure bill. I actually want to find out. I actually want to build a group here in Australia, APWA, Australians partnering with Africans. Develop that idea and go to either Ghana, Rwanda, find out where I can actually have operate in the country, and also get finance. Find out how to get finance from finance, because I want to actually probably go into transportation to help support my infrastructure.
All right. So let me ask a couple of questions. So when you say
Sure.
transportation, what kind of challenge is it that you want to solve?
Well, you say agriculture, but a friend of mine in Houston, I have connections in Houston. I went to school in Atlanta as well. I want to.
You just muted yourself. Unmute. Just unmute yourself again, Timothy.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. All right, have you switched yourself off? What's happening today with the Q&A?
Hi, Dr.
Where's the wipe and drive in the Q&A? Yes, Carl, go ahead. Give me a good question. Short, precise, to the point, so I can support you.
I will try, Dr. Harnet. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful session. My question is, I tend to work at a strategic level, and I'd like to ask, in your opinion, when we try to facilitate business linking between governments across, in different countries and strategic business federations, what are the key things that make that work or don't make that work in your experience, please?
Right. Okay. I mean, here's the thing. Generally, working with government, so that means you want to be paid by government, is always something that takes more time, especially if the payment comes from the side of the African government, because you have a contract, or you're looking to have a contract deal with them. I would say generally it's a slow progress or process. It can be very time consuming and frustrating. And I usually would say, as much as you can, focus on really working with private companies rather than governments. I think it can be as valuable to the economy if you're connecting private sector entities rather than government. The other thing maybe to say in this regard is that a lot of the Africa business and industry events that we saw across the continent and globally. I mean, if you're in Africa, everyone is at such, some kind of conference or expo or things like that. And I myself was registered for the Intra-African Trade Fair in Kigali in September, which is a huge event. Unfortunately, that also has been postponed. And so where I see an opportunity for all of you is creating online events, virtual summits, linking people up online that would usually not have found themselves. So, we need to rethink even Africa business and industry events, because they were a very important platform for buyer and seller connections, or for intra-government connections. So, Carl, I think there's a new opportunity opening up to come up with virtual summits that, work well and that are well represented. Important is that you choose a niche for such a virtual summit. Don't say infrastructure or African business connecting with American businesses is too broad. You need to be very, very focused on a certain industry, so people will see the value in coming onto your platform and paying you for being there.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. You're welcome. And I'm noticing my microphone is actually not working properly. I hope you heard me well. So who is next? Yves, and then Boside Akinoye.
Yes.
Yves, go ahead, please.
Hi, how are you?
Yves and then Boside. Yes, please.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay. Eve here. Hi, my name is Eve. Thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate it. I work in television production and I do corporate video training. And I had just started my business documenting corporate events in Rwanda and in Congo, where my father lives. But because of the COVID, this is the first year of my business doing that. So I did 3 conferences this year. Now, international travel is limited. So I'm not really sure how to pivot my business, as it was purely based around the documentation of these large business events, and then giving them to the client in order for them to have an archive of video in order to distribute afterwards. So I'm just figure out that, because it was a huge market, like I'm sure, as you know, there's large summits going on right now in Rwanda.
So sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there just because I want to take so many more questions, but I think I understood. May I ask, are you a videographer?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I would say, and yes, you're absolutely right, and you can see how this has affected your business, and it's so important that we rethink, or that you rethink in this regard, because even if some of these events come back, we really don't know what will hit next. You know, the virus may come back in the winter, and then your business struggles again. So very important, I think, is that you are flexible enough to reposition yourself. You are positioned as the guy of taking video footage from the live conferences. Now that's not possible anymore. So I'm just going to mute everyone, so we have a clean audio. And so I think it's important that you now think, okay, how can I position myself in a way where, you know, images or footage is still relevant? Now think, what problems are most facing? I think a lot of businesses, be it across Africa or the United States or wherever you're based, have lost business clients and customers. And I, for that reason, for example, have decided to really invest in my marketing team and cut down somewhere else. I cannot cut down in my marketing, because that is what will revive my business. And part of my marketing, guess what I invested into videography. You know, I actually paid some, you know, a young African team in London to do some videos for me. In fact, videos that for the first time don't really show my face, because I was writing them, we were putting them together during lockdown. So that is, I think, an opportunity to see how you can position yourself and produce footage that can be used as marketing material in a way during COVID-19. And that also means that you understand, as a videography, that business for your clients have changed, and therefore the message in your videos also need to be relevant. We cannot basically just continue as we have used to do things. That includes your clients. It's so important that we actually communicate the challenges and the new opportunities. And I think if you were the one who says, hey, I'm the videographer who amends your marketing message to COVID-19, because every business needs a new updated marketing message. And if you are and you see online advertising in YouTube and everywhere, and guess what? Everyone says, oh, we're now in COVID-19. I'm sure you're struggling. This is what I have to offer. Everyone puts a new context around that. And I think if you understand that, and you study it, you analyze it for your niche, it could be the tourism industry, it could be food production, it could be the supply chain. Choose a niche and then be the guy who puts COVID-19 relevant kind of amended marketing messages together for these businesses. That's just like quick guidance, brainstorm guidance. All right, was that helpful? Okay, fantastic. I didn't hear you, but I can see your smile. So Mulugeta, no, sorry, Boside first and then Mulugeta. Yes, Boside, please, go ahead. Grab the microphone. Oh, I can see many of you have raised your hands. I couldn't see. You know what I always say in business? Those who are visible win. If someone is in front of me in the camera and does, hey, I want to ask, I see them first. For those of you who are in hiding, just raising their little tech hand, I can't see you as well. So that's also something I teach. Be visible in business to win. All right. Posida, where are you?
Okay, I'm here.
Yes, go
Can
ahead,
you see
please.
me? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for this opportunity. Following some of your one of your programs anyway, I've seen your YouTube video. So I recently started thinking about importing some foodstuff from Africa and packaging it in UK. And during my
Posida,
thinking,
may I interrupt you? And I don't want to be unpolite, but do you want to import goods from Africa into the UK?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Please join me. I'm going to stop you here. I'm
okay,
so sorry.
okay.
And I'm not trying to be unpolite. Please join me next week, Sunday, because our entire session is going to be about that topic.
Okay, that's fine.
And you know what? I'm going to take you first.
Oh, thank you.
You have a VIP seat. All right?
Yes,
so
thank you.
Importing goods from Africa into the world, intra-African trade, that is my topic for next week. Posida, keep your question because it will make much more sense in the context, and the vibe will be all geared towards what you want to do. Thank you so much, Posida. And remind me, you will be my VIP guest. I hope I don't forget.
I will
Maybe wave a little VIP kind of sign into the camera now. Okay. So now it is, yes. And now people are waving on the camera. Okay, hold on. I said Mulugeta, and then I don't want to be, and I've seen a lot of people have been queuing here. Mulugeta, and then it's Ebony, and then Bright evoked an Emmanuel. No, Caroline on iPhone of Musael. Too many questions. Let's do a few more. Go ahead, quickly, please. Quick questions. Yes, Mulugeta.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Harnet, for this amazing presentation and very good offer of today. I have already bought the virtual training, and then I just want to highlight a few things so that you can help me to guide my future.
Sure.
I am food and agricultural expert in the field. I have a PhD degree, but I'm now thinking to link the education and food science, food industry.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the training that I bought, the virtual training, would guide me in a way to link this education in food industry?
And food. Okay, thank you for your question, Mulugeta. No, I do not think that training will answer it, because the training, the 10 modules are just generally how to do business in Africa, how to, how to position yourself, how to find partners, how to mitigate risk, how to find the right business model. I'm not going really, I'm giving a lot of examples, but something as specific as yours, like, linking food science with agriculture, no, it would not answer that. What I would say is that, again, as I have mentioned, the food sector in Africa is growing so fast, and the supply chain will be geared towards Africa, in my view. And therefore, Mulugeta, with your expertise, oh my God, I think there's so much you can do. I would position myself as a consultant, where you, for example, one of the biggest challenges that, where are you based? Sorry?
I based in Italy. But
Italy.
Now I'm in Romania, but Romania, Italy.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I would say the European Union. So what I would do is, you could become a consultant in understanding the European Union kind of rules when it comes to that. Again, similar like with Posidi, this is an area we'll discuss in detail next week. But I believe you can become a consultant and then reach out to already well-established companies in Africa that are exporting or are about to export into the European Union. And you have the ability to kind of really guide them in what is needed, maybe connect them with laboratories for food sampling, and things like that. That is really needed. Most of these consultancy services are available at the African end, but not at the European or American end. And so having, someone that people can just say, okay, can you guide me? Can you put me in touch? Can you do it for me, even as a all done service, that would be very, very valuable. So that's great positioning. All right, you're welcome. So then I said, I think I took someone who is next in line in, if it was, okay, next in line was SGC, Elias, and then evoked, no, Yokift. So sorry, Yokift. And then there was, okay, go ahead. Just grab the mics.
Timothy, can you hear me?
Okay. Okay. SGC, Elias, or Jokivit? Jokivit, you have the mic. One of the three, I mean.
Yes, Jokivit is here. I have a question. I didn't get a refund. I was supposed to attend to New York, but couldn't because of what happened with COVID. So am I able to get the $47 after contacting your team with the refund?
Yeah. You're getting it for free, the boot camp. You're getting it for free. We've sent emails
I'll email you and take care of that. My second question, and thank you anyway. I'm trying to be quick because I know you just want questions. If I want to live in one country where I have support and would have a social network supporting to me, and do business in the country next door, what would be the best process in doing that?
All right. So you mean in one African country and you want to do business across the borders?
Well, I could do business in that country, but I got your little map and it's not one of the countries where it was a high, was it high and low?
Low risk, high opportunity.
Right, but the country right next door was one that was really good. So I want to stay in one country because that's where my support network would be. I'm new to the African continent, so I don't want to live in a country by myself.
Got you. Can you tell me which countries you're talking about?
I'm talking about Gambia and Senegal.
All right. Okay. So you want to live in Gambia and then Senegal is the low risk, high opportunity. Did I get that right? Yes. Okay. So yes, I mean, absolutely, it is possible. Important is it is possible. Important is then that you choose a business model that that allows you to manage something from afar or coming in and out. Not each business model allows for that. There are a lot of business models that really require of you to be on the ground, locally, you know, really available. It could be, if you're looking into Senegal, you could go into the tourism industry. So local and regional tourism would be one, for example, where you do not really need to be on the ground because you could be selling to tourists in Gambia. I mean, African Americans that are visiting Gambia, now you're offering a trip to Senegal, or just generally West African region tourism. And again, focus on local tourists or regional tourists or the tourists who are already in the country. That means if you're focusing Western tourists, don't try to bring them in, focus on those who are already inside and then sell whatever you have to offer, which could be a tour to Senegal. The other thing could be cross-border trade, for example. Import, export from one country into the other. That's another one, another good business model. Or if you have a certain skill or expertise, you could come in as a consultant, travel into Senegal as a consultant to give your expertise. But then I think Senegal is French speaking. I'm not sure if you speak French.
My daughter speaks French.
Sorry?
My daughter speaks French.
Well, yeah, but your daughter can't run your business.
She will.
You have a very smart daughter, but yeah. But so just to give you some ideas here, Jokovic. So it's important that you choose a business model that then where the crossing back and forth is actually part of your business activity. You know, otherwise you would be running into troubles. All right.
Thank you.
Having said that, you could also choose a business model in Gambia that is in a low risk industry. So I'm just going to mute everyone for better audio. So as I always say, if you're operating in higher risk markets in Africa, you can then go with a lower risk industry. So tourism industry, agribusiness industry is generally lower risk for many reasons. One reason also, you're not highly depending on government offices to make your tour work or to produce something on an agricultural crop. While higher risk industries are, for example, the real estate industry, anything with construction, the construction industry, financial industry. These are high risk industries. And when you combine a high risk market with a high risk industry as a startup or first comer to Africa, then you're in trouble. You know, That's very difficult. So you can also look for lower risk industries and apply that where you are. Okay, fantastic. All right, so I'm just gonna call out 3 people all the time, and then you just wrap, because whoever is faster in business will win. So Michael Aini, Aboni, hold on, Aboni and, sorry, I'm just, Aboni, Ebony, Caroline.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, Ebony.
Hi, thank you very much. It's Ebony. So thank you for the reference to doing business with government, making sure that governments are not involved or involved as least as possible. So I'm familiar with the Africa Verein, which is the organization in Germany that you, I'm sure, are familiar with it, through which much of the African trade through Germany is facilitated. Do you think, so I'm based in Switzerland and I have a partner in Germany and then a partner in Lagos, Nigeria. So my question is, do you think it is worthwhile for a commercial solar business to connect with the Africa Verein? Do you think it could be helpful from a financial perspective? Of course, like the network and as well as just like visibility.
Sorry, yeah, just because I see so many queuing, that's why I'm cutting a little bit short. Yeah, apologies. No, but Ebony, do you set a solar business?
Yes.
So where is that solar business based? Or where are you planning it?
Lagos for the initial plan.
Okay, all right. Okay, so so here's what I would say. Your partner is based in Germany. So here's what I would say. I mean, of course, you would get certain support from the Africa Verein, you know, and that includes directions in regards to financing, possibly. There's the, what is it called? I forgot the name of the bank. I'm so sorry, but they have certain banks who are co-financing development projects. So I think the Africa Verein would be good in really kind of directing you towards that, for example. Having said that, and I'm just going to be very honest with you.
Thank you.
I've met the people from African Verein, you know, and one thing that really I realized is there's not a single African among them. They're like the entity, the go-to authority for anything Africa in Germany. There's not a single African among them. And I remember, because I met them personally, including the CEO. I mean, this is like 3-4 years ago. And they're talking very, very big projects. And when you come to, like, really you talk about, you know, how to support Africans in the diaspora, including those living in Germany, and they're not interested. So I just found it very, very difficult to connect with them. Although I have the role that I have, you know, they weren't really interested. So I think they are playing at a certain level, and you could get in touch. But I'm sharing my experience that I think you may or may not be part of that level.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really want to, you know, it's important that you try for yourself, because everyone has a different experience. So I don't want to, you know, yeah, discourage you or put a bad name, but it was a disappointing experience at my end. And I'm not talking for myself. I was talking for Africans in the diaspora that I'm representing. And yeah, so anyway, Ebony, give it a try. If it doesn't work, come back to me and I show you where. But when it comes to financing, I actually do not show how to get financing. For that, you should contact smallstarter.com. They do. Okay, who gets next?
Okay, Elias is here.
Okay, Elias, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Elias. I'm calling you from Switzerland.
Yes, please.
And I'm actually from Ethiopia. And I've been approached by a group of people who are active in minerals and would like to export from Ethiopia to Europe, mainly in Switzerland. So I was just wondering, this is my first approach, and this is like I'm going to start up a business with them. So what do you think about this mineral business importing to Europe?
All right. What generally they want to export raw minerals into Europe?
Yeah, particularly opal.
Who are these exporters? Are they producers, manufacturers, or middlemen?
They are producers. They are producers, and they want to directly send it to me.
Okay, and then you're reselling?
I'll resell, yes, exactly. So I have to acquire clients here in Europe.
Okay,
mainly in Germany and Switzerland.
Okay, this is what I would say, and please to everyone, just be aware that I'm just quickly doing really quick answers and brainstorming because we are a lot of people here. But this is what I would say, Elias. Exporting out of Ethiopia is always a good business model because Ethiopia wants, like every other country in Africa, wants to really increase its exports and decrease its imports. So generally speaking, it is a good business model and a sustainable business model. That's number one. Number two also is Ethiopia at the moment faces some challenges in regards to political stability and just generally stability and security. I think it's important that you take that into consideration. It also depends, for example, where the mines are based, how would they be shipped, you know, need they to be shipped across the country, what happens if there's unrest. It's very important that you take this into consideration because it is something that is very currently there. And if you want to do business in a country where you have some unrest, it's important you take that into consideration. The third one that I would give you is you need to see if this is demand driven. So look at the demand in Switzerland or Germany, and if there is space for you to come in. If there is space for you to come in, Elias, I would always say start as an agent. So do not buy the products yourself.
That's the idea. Yeah.
You make a big investment and then you don't even know if you can sell, and you're new to the business, you will make a lot of mistakes. I would go the other road, which is become an agent, a broker, where you just connect the buyers in Switzerland or Europe with them and you get a commission. Once you understand the industry, you know if you have a place to, you know, a role to play, you know the industry, you know the buyers, the ins and outs, then you can go the next step and become a distributor. I hope this was helpful.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Elias. So I'm gonna take 5 more people.
Okay. Dr. Harnet.
Because who's saying okay?
Yes. Can you hear me? This is Michael Ayeni.
Oh, Michael, did I? Okay. Yes, I called you out. So Michael, yes, please.
Yes. Hi. So nice to finally see you. Well, actually, I've been receiving your emails for a while now, and then finally, you know, I mean, I responded in the past, you know, but didn't quite act on it. But you know, I mean, I've just I'm here in the US, and my interest actually, or the business model I have in mind, is trying to plug into like a supply chain, you know, sort of maybe be a sort of like an agent, you know, in trying to connect suppliers with their buyers.
Michael, may I be like just with like I've done with your sister before?
Yes.
Is it okay if you ask that question in the next session next week? Because then our entire session is going to be about importing from Africa and the different roles one can have. I have a entire presentation on it, the different roles and so on. And especially when it comes to the United States, because that was one of my key markets.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Yes.
Hopefully. All right, Michael, will you be there next Sunday?
Yes, I'll try to. And if you can make me the second person, because I know you picked her as the first.
Yes.
It's you had okay.
Please, like wave into the camera, VIP. I'm serious. I don't mean that as a joke. I actually mean it, because otherwise I'll forget you. Okay? Just wave into the camera, VIP, and I will take you second. All right. So no importing, exporting questions anymore, especially when it comes to food items and supply chain, as I will cover that in detail next week on the 31st of May. So 4 more people. Those I have already called out were Caroline, Emmanuel, and then I can see those waving: Ikenea, Bright, Kanate, and Tan. And Sandrine, that's it. Hold, let me let's see if there's someone saving. Oh my God, I have people on the second and third page waving too. I'm so sorry, guys. I couldn't see you. I have only like 15 people on the page, but I can see there are a lot of questions. I need to see you next Sunday again. And then, well, you better sign up to my academy and you can ask me questions every single week in a smaller group. Okay. But we'll cover this another time. If you want to join the academy, I haven't really made a call for that today, but I can see there are so many questions.
Have you sent the link out for next Sunday's meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
So next Sunday we'll meet. So now it's Caroline, Emmanuel, Tan, Ikena, and Bright Kanate. That's it.
Okay. Thanks for the presentation.
Sorry, and Sandrine, one of our sisters. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the presentation and for taking my question. I had a question about service departments. So we have some service departments in Nairobi, Kenya.
Yes, you will. What is with you?
I was wondering
Let
what.
me mute everyone. I apologize, Emmanuel. Okay, unmute yourself again, Emmanuel. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was saying we have some service departments in Nairobi, Kenya. Most of the clients are corporates, who fly in from other countries. So I was just wondering, under this COVID environment or post-COVID, what do you think would be the impact on that sort of industry? Do you have any tips or suggestions of what we can do going forward?
Yeah. Oh, that is an important one. Service apartments. How many percent of your people renting were foreigners? Roughly.
Most of them. I would say at least 90%.
Wow. And now these apartments
are mostly
empty?
Corporates. They're not empty, but people are kind of worried, so they're doing maybe short-term leases, or so there are 4 apartments, and at least two of them have short-term tenants, but no one's taking any long-term leases anymore.
Okay.
And
all right. Yeah. So here's what I would say. I know that long-term leases are, usually what you prefer and you have less hassle with them. However, you actually always make more money when you go short-term. So whenever you rent accommodation, it doesn't matter if it's apartment or a house or office or the shorter term you go, the more money you can actually make. So what I would say now is that you and your team are flexible enough to shift towards short-term letting. I would actually really take that in and enjoy the fact that you can make more money now, because you can now rent by the day or by the week. So I would restructure how you position your apartments. Also, who are your ideal clients? So maybe, business travel will continue, but maybe to focus more on regional business travel instead of international one, because it will be the regional business travel that will come back next. That's one thing. So work on your positioning, restructure your pricing plan and your offering, and then also look at alternative ideal buyers or clients, renters in your case. As I said, go for regional business people, but then see who else could possibly rent our apartments. Even think, students, the parents of students that could pay for these apartments. So I think, Emmanuel, is the time to really sit down, just like I have done in my business over the last few weeks, to analyze, reanalyze, and be flexible enough to quickly change the structure of your business, including whom you target, whom you sell to, how you position yourself, and your pricing structure. That's what I would suggest. Otherwise, you will be just sitting there and waiting, and that's called hope business. And hope business does never work if you just hope that these guys will return one day. I hope this was helpful. Then just
thank you.
Everyone I mentioned, grab the microphone, please. Tan, Sandrine,
yeah,
Ikena.
it's Ikena here.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Hi, so I have a quick question about real estate, and in particular, real estate in Rwanda, especially for someone like myself that is very passionate and very, it's an industry that I really want to go into, but because of the current, situation, like how can someone like myself get started in such,
Okay, real estate Rwanda. So tell me a little bit more. And by the way, everyone, I'm just sharing the link again for you to sign up for the Virtual Africa Business Bootcamp. Ikene, when you say real estate in Rwanda, can you be a bit more precise? Do you want to rent and co-let? Do you sublet? Do you want to buy, invest, build?
More, because I know that the government is really pushing for like more residential homes and stuff like that. So more investing in such a project.
Okay, great. So here's what I would suggest. There's several ways to go about it. Generally speaking, when you look at the real estate market in Africa, or East Africa in your case, Kenya actually is one of the best markets to invest in regards to long-term return on your investment. Having said that, so in generally the Rwandan real estate market is a little bit slower and you get lower returns. However, here's the thing. No, maybe I should rephrase it. You invest less because it costs less at this moment. Land is very cheap. Houses and building is still very cheap. So because you invest less, you also get less out in terms of the actual return, right? So there's several ways you can go about it. Either you invest in a company that's already there on the ground, and I know companies who are working on affordable building structures. So affordable housing, and I'm going to mute everyone, affordable housing is the big goal for the Rwandan government to support and bring about affordable housing. Now, there are some entrepreneurs and businesses on the ground already who are producing affordable building material. So these are companies that are working on projects, and you could seek them out and co-invest, your money with them. That's one thing, and that's the best way to go about if you are actually not ready to move to Rwanda and manage anything, but you just want to invest, let your money work, and maybe get a return 3-5 years later. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing, of course, is that you can acquire land and build something on the land yourself. Now, Rwanda is one of the few countries in Africa where you as a foreigner can actually own land. And right now, land in Rwanda is still very, very affordable, cheap, to be very honest. And that means if you buy a plot of land, within then 3 years, you get your land title in about a week, all right? It's very straightforward. And then within 3 years, you need to develop that land by law, okay? So you have some time to think about maybe what you want to build on it. It could be for the hospitality industry. It could be for residential. And what we find with a lot of land plots, even in and around Kigali, that 2, 3, 4 years later, the value of that particular plot has tripled. So the return on investment in Rwanda is very good. I should rephrase it, what I said before, but because everything is still cheaper, so also the money you get for your house and so on, a lot of people are looking to rent something out, and quite frankly, for a rent, you get maybe $500 or $1,000 per month. Even for a villa, you get maybe $1,000 per month, unless it's a huge modern villa, and so it's not a lot as compared to maybe renting it out in other African countries. So yeah, those are the two ways I would go about. Seek out the construction companies, number one, and number two, buy a plot of land and develop it yourself. Okay, you're welcome. You can, okay, Tan, please.
Hi,
Tan.
Doc. So My question is specific to the baobab powder. I'd reached out to a South African supplier through my Kibio, and I haven't gotten a response. I have people that are really keen. I'm in the US, so if you could help in any way, I'd really appreciate it.
All right, Tan, yeah. Please email to my team, info@africajumpstart.com. They will reach out for the suppliers for you and help you to get a reply. All right? Just email Crystal. All right, fantastic. So where are the two others?
Hello, doctor.
Yes, Pride Kanate. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, please. I really enjoy your teaching. I've been following you for quite some time now. And to be frank, it really inspired me. I'm into television production, and I really want to go into agribusiness. Especially an exportation of natural in-boost organic supplements. So I want to ask, how do I start by it with a little money?
Okay, where are you based, you said?
I'm based in Ghana, Accra.
Accra, okay, yes. All right, so yeah, wonderful. So first of all, I think it is so important to see, the opportunities in agribusiness, including Ghana. I mean, guys, you have so much arable land, green, moist, fertile, ready to be planted upon. Some of us in other African countries, we have dry land, a lot of dry land, we don't have that. So there's a lot of opportunity. Now, what I would do, Bright Kanate, I would start with a product that is non-traditional, okay? So you do not want to compete with all the other farmers. What you want is to find a niche that hardly anyone covers. And then think about a product that would be of value locally, regionally, and internationally. So there are several ways you can go about that. So I'm giving you two avenues. Number one is you start with products that are high in demand in Ghana's tourism and hospitality industry. So, for example, strawberries, and they are my favorite product, or other kind of berries. Strawberries, blueberries, hardly anyone is producing them, okay? That is one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is to, or did you want to add something, Bright Kanate?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So the other, because you said I have little budget, and I know that the Ministry of Agriculture just a year ago was actually giving support to young entrepreneurs who wanted to start in the agricultural field. So inquire about this at the Ministry of Agriculture, because one of my academy members, she received a free greenhouse from the Ministry of Agriculture in Accra, and she started her strawberry plantation in a free greenhouse that was given to her as a support. So inquire about that. But you can start something simple like the strawberry production and then sell it to the hospitality industry, even if you have small amounts. Why? Because no one else is selling it. So even if you have just 2 kilos, people will not laugh about you. They would be happy to buy your 2 kilogram because no one else is selling it. All right. So so that is one way to get started. The other way to get started is to start on a product that is freely available. So where you do not have to plant. So think, for example, shea butter nuts, or think baobab powder. Okay. Shea butter, the nuts is a free resource. The baobab trees is a free resource. I remember driving from, and I don't know where the area for you is in Ghana, but I remember driving from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania all the way to Dodoma. I've never seen so many baobab trees in my life, all right, at one section of the journey. It was amazing. And that's it, free resource. You could be collecting those pots and making baobab powder out of it, and then start selling locally. Guess what? Baobab powder is full of vitamin C. Its first and foremost benefit is to strengthen your immune system. All right? And now even people in Accra and Ghana are very much aware of that. And hence that is a beautiful way also to start on a shoestring budget. And then you start locally, you sell locally. Once you reinvest the money you make, you grow, you grow, you grow, and then you can start exporting regionally and internationally at one point. And therefore, it's very important for all of you who are in agribusiness that first of all, you choose a product that can sell locally, regionally, and internationally. And it's the case with the two products I told you, including strawberries, because they're seasonal. Poside, I'm muting you and you're unmuting yourself because I don't want the background noise. Don't unmute yourselves, everyone, please. Because strawberries are seasonal here in the West. And then, for example, you have huge strawberry production in Egypt and Morocco, and they're selling just to the West because here in the winter, people still want strawberries, especially the British guys. And so therefore, these products work locally, regionally, internationally, so you can sell at all stages. And when you are on a shoestring budget, always think small locally, all right? So I think those are two great products, strawberry or blueberries. And on the other hand, and you can ask for the support from the Ministry of Agriculture. And on the other hand, free resources. I wouldn't go with the shea butter because it's very competitive in Ghana. I would go with the baobab powder. And strengthening your immune system during COVID-19. I mean, everyone wants to do this right now, okay? Was that helpful, Bright Kanate?
Yeah, of course, it's really helped me.
Fantastic. I wish you all the best.
Yeah,
and,
you're welcome.
and you
Thank
know,
you so much.
And I hope you become successful, and then you start employing people, and then, you know, your economy needs your family, your community. You can uplift so many people. But first, we need to understand how to uplift ourselves.
Yeah,
all right.
sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, all the best. So now we have two more, Sandrine and Ikenea, was it? No, we did Ikenea already. Sorry. Sandrine and whoever else I called out. The last two people. Go ahead.
I just had a question about the virtual bootcamp. I want to ask if it's if you did an update on the course, or is it still the same as a couple of years ago? Because I followed the bootcamp in London in 2000.
All right, Sandrine, I'm going to cut you here because I want like a really great business questions at the end, you know, but you can email me with any questions. It's going to be pretty much the same course that you did, you know. Of course, there are updates, improvements, but it's not going to be completely different. It's still very relevant what I taught 2-3 years ago.
Okay, no,
all right.
you. Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so who can give me a last final great Africa business question? Let me go on page 2.
I can give you Ayo. My name is Ayo. Hello.
Yes, Ayo, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm calling. I'm talking from Canada, Calgary, in Alberta.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to ask if do you have an idea how one can get mining license to import precious stones from Nigeria to Canada?
What do you want to import, export?
No, to import precious stones from Nigeria to Canada.
Okay, so here's what I would say, Ayo. As I said, next week I'm going to cover imports, exports only, the whole session.
Okay.
Would you be able to come back and ask your question then?
Is it on Sunday?
Yes, please.
Okay, good.
Yes, please.
Perfect.
Next week, Sunday, same time.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, because I want to be fair to everyone else. Yes, so I'm taking it now. 2 more, because Abu Bakr, Yusuf, and who else? A lady. Sisters, where are you? Sisters, where are you?
Yes, I have a question, Dr. Harnet.
Okay, one sister, Abu Bakr, and then our sister. Go ahead, and then I'm closing. Final deal. Go ahead, please.
Yes, hi. I just had a question about like
Abu Bakr, Yusuf first, sorry, and then our sister.
Thank you, Dr. Harnet. I am just asking about what opportunities are there for traditional medicine, things that you use, things like neem oil, eucalyptus oil, and things like that.
Yeah, huge. Where are you based, please?
In Nigeria and in Kano.
Okay, fantastic. And do you celebrate it?
Yes, I am.
Eid Mubarak, Abu Bakr Yusuf.
Thank you.
I wish you a very blessed Eid.
Thank you very much.
What I want to say is, as I mentioned before, I think there's huge opportunity. The health awareness among Africans is growing very, very fast. And especially now with the COVID, it becomes ever more so relevant. But also we have, you know, not everyone can really afford the health system. In Nigeria also, you have a health system that is largely inefficient, or it is expensive for a lot of people. The same in the United States. Not everyone is lucky to have a free healthcare system like in the UK, or a good healthcare system like here in Germany. And so people are looking really for alternatives. I'm going to mute everyone. People are looking for alternatives. And therefore, I truly believe there will be a new kind of trend and era for people going back to superfoods, to natural healthcare, and to the traditional healthcare. And what I believe is that it's important that you choose one or two products. For example, that you choose products where you're focusing on boosting the immune system, because a lot of people are aware of that now. And if you have a strong immune system, you know, you can defeat almost any illness, not just COVID-19, any other illness. And so if that is your topic, you know, immune system boosters, rather than, they are traditional medicine, but I would not say, oh, you can get traditional medicine here. It's important how you position yourself, and you rather say, get immune boosters, you know, to protect yourself from COVID-19 and other illnesses, so you get a strong immune system. And again, you could start in two ways. One would be that you start producing it yourself, you know, but that is of course a little bit a lengthy journey. You can also resell products that are already on the market. So one thing, for example, that we do not have in Africa is, or hardly anyway, is e-commerce shops for these superfoods, for these products. And if someone in Lagos or in Kano State, where you're based, is feeling ill or worries about becoming ill, now can go online and, you know, and get it into the post or delivered the next day. That is something we don't see in Africa yet. And I believe this is where you could position your kind of small e-commerce shop around one particular, or you know, later on you will add, but immune boosting products. And I think that would work very, very well. E-commerce is the next big trend, health and natural products, and they're growing in Africa too. You want to ask a quick follow-up question? Yeah. Oh, sorry, sorry, Abu Bakr Yusuf. Yes, please.
Okay,
go ahead.
Thank you. Just a follow-up on that. Are there any challenges that one should expect, especially because it is going to be a cross-border thing? Are there any challenges that one has to contend with?
Yeah, well, here's what I would say. I would actually start locally. Or do you mean cross-state? You mean the state borders?
No, I mean international. I mean international.
No, what I always would say, what I always advise is that you start locally. I would start locally and sell there before going internationally. Or you take a product that is a good brand and you seek out buyers internationally, but that will be a problem for you, Abu Bakr, because you're based in Nigeria. And that is exactly the problem that the suppliers they have, because they are not in the neighborhood of the buyers in the West or in Asia. They're just the exporters. And therefore, it's very important that we think local. So if you are based in the US, I would say to you, yes, look around for potential buyers for these supplements from Nigeria. But if you are based in Nigeria, it is much easier to see, okay, what kind of clientele do I have here? And I believe the clientele in Nigeria itself, it's huge. People just have not really learned how to position themselves with their product in a way that Nigerians want to buy it in big numbers. And I believe a little e-commerce shop, something like that, could work very, very well in Nigeria. There's an untapped market in Africa for superfoods and natural healthcare products. And that market, whoever comes first, I believe, will reap the fruits.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And then our sister, and we're closing.
Yes, hi, Dr. Harnet. This question is for someone that has access to like local agriculture produce. And I just want to know, like, you know, to distribute locally and internationally, should it be like a specific kind of agriculture produce, or I think they have access to like cola nut, avocados, and some other fruits, but they just don't know how to go about it for like distribution, or which one, I mean, like where to tackle it.
Yes, Chinwe, where are you based?
It's not for me, but like the products are in Nigeria, but I'm in America right now.
Okay,
I'm in New York City.
So what I would say is, as I just want to be fair to all the others, what I said, if it's about import and distribution, I will cover it next Sunday in an entire session. So all your questions I will answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I just want to be fair to everyone else. Since you want to import from Africa, I will cover that in detail next Sunday. So, Dear Africa business jumpstarters, first of all, thank you so much as always for you know, your engagement, your enthusiasm, your trust in me, your passion, showing up. I really enjoyed these you know, live web classes, and I could go on and on and on about it. But after 2 hours, we need to close. My children are next door hungry, and I'm looking forward to our live session next Sunday. As I said, please, in closing, you know, it is so important for all of you that you are not staying idle. The world is shifting. You know, businesses, economies are shifting. Your job may not be secure anymore. And maybe this is just a beautiful time, you know, not to stay in your status quo anymore, but to break out of it and to start something new. I can certainly say to you, it's not an easy journey, but it is a journey so worth taking, because once you are on that road to success and you're serving others and you are uplifting Africa in your own small little terms, you know, or it can even become bigger, it is so rewarding, and it is a very, very meaningful path in life, I believe. So yeah, let's be part of it. And Africa will reposition itself, because China is losing in importance, I believe. And it's so important that we are at the front lines. You know, we should be leading ahead and not be the last again to catch up. And that always starts with awareness. Awareness is a very, very important aspect. It also starts with information, but then you need to really work with that information to turn it into knowledge and then to turn it into action. You may not get it right straight from the start, but it is so important that you do get started and that you stay in the game, all right? It will not all be like on an upward trend straight away, but you'll get there if you have focus and if you have a vision for yourself and your country in Africa. So I'm very passionate about this, as you know, but for now, I'm going to stop here. Oh yeah, again, if you want to make the most of the virtual business bootcamp, again, I'm sharing the link for you today. It's here in the chat box. For those of you on YouTube, I'm going to jump onto YouTube and share it with you there in a minute. So go back to get the link. I've never shared it at $47. I mean, seriously, it's a non-brainer. For anyone who is serious about business, it's a non-brainer to get at least one gem, if not hundreds of gems out of that training. And it will save you a lot down the road. So it was an honor, a joy to spend this time with you today. I'm looking forward to next Sunday, where we discuss how to import from Africa, and it doesn't matter if it's intra-African trade or you may be based anywhere in the world. We go into detail in how to do that. And yeah, that's it from me. And I can't let go, as you see. But let's say your goodbyes. I'm going to unmute everyone, and bye, everyone. Take care. Stay healthy and safe wherever in the world you are. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Other things that go